There's been a lot of losses in the UFC, but there's a select few losses that are truly satisfying. Today I'm going to be going over my personal top 10 favourite losses in the UFC, and without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. Starting off at number 10 on the list is going to be Josh Koscheck versus Tyron Woodley. Now this fight made it onto the list because at the time Josh Koscheck was known for being a very arrogant fighter who would trash talk a lot of people and cause a lot of problems with a lot of people. For example, he went after people like Brad Tate, the UFC cutman who a lot of people like and admire, and to go after people like that was pretty strange. He was also known for pretending to get hit by shots that would negatively impact the opponents that he was fighting. An example is when he fought Paul Daly in UFC 113 when he faked getting hurt by the knee. So for Tyron Woodley to take him out the way he did with that brutal right hand was truly satisfying and made a lot of us happy to see Josh Koscheck finish the way he was. Now moving on to number 9 on the list, we've got Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar, and I put this on the list because at the time Max Holloway had just lost to Alexander Volkanovski and was trying to make a comeback. His opponent was Calvin Kattar, who at the time was seen as a very dangerous opponent for Max Holloway as he was known for his crisp boxing and devastating power. And his opponent Calvin Kattar was taking some shots at Max Holloway, the former champion, calling himself the senior and calling Max Holloway a freshman, which was a joke and mocking Max Holloway's ability when it came to boxing. So for Max Holloway to come into this fight and dominate Calvin Kattar throughout the entirety of the fight was pretty satisfying to see, as it showed us Max Holloway was back and Max Holloway has evolved and he took out someone that was trash talking him and put him in his place and humbled him. Moving on to number 8 on the list, we've got Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, the second fight, and I put this as satisfying because going into this fight, Kamaru Usman had taken out everyone in the welterweight division that was placed in front of him. He has a long reigning championship and was beating everyone at the highest level. And when it came to Leon Edwards, he didn't really take Leon Edwards seriously. He saw Leon Edwards as a person he's already beaten before, and in the press conferences he was taking some shots at Leon. I was treating him like a little kid and didn't really care about him. I was thinking about bigger and better things. He was talking about moving into boxing and fighting Canelo Alvarez one day. So to see in the fight that he was beating Leon Edwards and was dominating throughout the whole fight, to see Leon Edwards make a comeback in the 5th round and head kick KO him in one of the best head kick KOs we've ever seen was truly satisfying, as we saw that Leon Edwards was able to overcome the adversity, take out someone that had beaten him previously and become champion, taking everything away from Kamaru Usman and ruining his ambitions and humbling him. It was satisfying. Moving on to number 7 on the list, we've got Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya. Now I put this on the list because at the time Sean Strickland was very underrated. I always thought that Sean Strickland had the ability to beat Israel Adesanya because of his great boxing fundamentals and ability to check leg kicks, but a lot of people thought that Israel Adesanya was one of the greatest strikers of all time, and which he is talented, but I always noticed that he had a boxing fundamental weakness which could be exploited by someone like Strickland, as it's a stylistic matchup. There was also the fact that going into this fight, there was controversy surrounding Israel Adesanya, specifically about the situation with his dog, which I won't go into as it is pretty weird. But that was a lot of reasons why people didn't really like Israel Adesanya as much, because of that situation with his dog. And the fact that Israel Adesanya had been dominating the middleweight division for a very long time. He was the king of the middleweight division for a lot of years, and for Sean Strickland to come in short notice, the fight was originally Dricus du Plessis, but for Sean to come in last minute, take out Israel Adesanya completely and ruin his entire game plan and expose the weakness that he had in his style was satisfying to see. Moving on to number 6, we've got Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. I've put this on the list because there was a lot of back and forth from Merab and Umar going into this fight. Both guys didn't really like each other that much, and for Merab, he had to face a very dominant style that had been dominant in the UFC the last couple of years, which was the Dagestani style. So for Merab to come in and take out that style and be dominant, having Umar tired and just styling on him in the fight was pretty impressive to see and quite satisfying. to see someone being able to get a win over those dominant style of fighters for once, which was pretty impressive. Number 5 on the list is going to be Ilia Topuria versus Ryan Hall. Now, a lot of people might not remember this, but I certainly do, because I had the misfortune of listening to Joe Rogan constantly praising Ryan Hall like he was some next level genius, or he was going to be the next big thing in the UFC. How nobody wanted to face him because of his elite jiu-jitsu, which he did have elite jiu-jitsu, but other than that he wasn't really complete. So to see Ilia Topuria take him out the way he did right in front of Joe Rogan was so satisfying, as it put an end to Rogan's constant glaze of Ryan Hall. Moving on to number 4 on the list is going to be Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. This has made the list because of Ronda Rousey's delusion at the time, talking about how much of a greater striker she was over Holly Holm. You look at Holly Holm and she had a background in boxing, great striking overall, and then if you looked at Ronda Rousey striking, if you've ever seen the clip of her shadowboxing, it's pretty horrifying. Ronda Rousey talking about how she was complete in other aspects in MMA and being better overall, when realistically all she had was her judo and the armbar, which, yes, fair enough, it's great that she had those things, but her just constantly lying and talking about Holly as she wasn't a threat to her on the feet was so annoying at the time. So for Holly Holm to KO Ronda Rousey the way she did was truly satisfying and amazing to see, as it put an end to Ronda Rousey's delusion and caused her to go on a downward spiral. Moving on to number 3 on the list, we've got Quillian Salkid versus Anshul Jubli. This loss was truly satisfying because when you look at Anshul's career so far in the UFC, he comes in as the next big thing from India, going to take over, but then loses his first fight in the UFC, which is, a lot of people do lose in their first time, but he did lose pretty badly to Mike Breeden. Then after that goes on podcasts talking about he could submit the likes of Khabib, which is pretty delusional as he hadn't proved himself and was just talking nonsense. Then getting KO'd by Quillian Salkid the way he did was absolutely satisfying, as it just made it even funnier to see Anshul keep losing and getting exposed for not being a great fighter. Moving on to number 2 on the list is going to be Bo Nickel versus Reinier de Ridder. This has made the list because of Bo Nickel's constant arrogance and his deluded demeanor of being able to think that he could beat everyone that was placed in front of him. He was massively overhyping his wrestling capability and said that he could beat the likes of Khamzat Chimaev, which I don't think he could. It's pretty delusional to say that. So watching Reinier de Ridder just crush him with those knees that he landed on Bo Nickel was satisfying to see, as it made him crumble under adversity and made a lot of people realize that Bo Nickel really isn't that high level that he made himself appear to be. Now, number 1 on the list is going to be Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Now, for some reason, Jamal Hill just kept getting rage baited by people who were saying that Alex Pereira had better striking ability than Jamal Hill, which he rightfully did. He comes from that glory kickboxing background and was a great champion over there. And for Jamal Hill to just get deeply offended by that and going after Alex, saying that he will knock him out, constantly trashing on Alex Pereira, made him look deeply insecure and worried about himself, and made a lot of people, including myself, despise Jamal Hill at the time for his actions, the way he was behaving and conducting himself against a guy who was very calm, quiet and stoic and didn't really engage much in trash talking. For me personally, it did look like that Jamal Hill was trying to mask his self-doubt and lack of confidence by putting on a persona that he could take out Pereira in his own game and being the loudest one in the room, so that he could show to everyone that he wasn't scared by Pereira's KOing ability, and by putting on the persona that he could take him out and being a loudmouth. It was Jamal's way of showing that he had confidence in his abilities and could take out Pereira. So when Alex Pereira finally KO'd Jamal Hill the way he did in a brutal style and memed on him was so satisfying to see, as it put a loudmouth like Jamal Hill in his place and showed the dominance of Alex Pereira at the time. But anyways, these were just my personal top 10 satisfying losses in the UFC. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Let me know your satisfying losses in the UFC, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.